Hey guys, Charl here from worshipguitarskills.com and welcome to another video here on our channel. Today, I'm going to be tackling a very important topic which is known as ear training or developing your aural skills. Before we get into that and why it's important, let me tell you a quick story. The other day I was at the shop just shopping for some stuff for the family, and a guy walked up to me and tapped me on the shoulder and handed me a piece of paper. So I wasn't sure what was going on, so immediately I started asking him, what's his name or where he's from or what he needs. I just wanted to discuss, into discussion with him. And then I could quickly see that this guy was deaf because he was started using sign language and kind of just showed me that he wants me to read what's on the paper, and he was collecting money for a specific a hearing disability foundation. So as I was trying to, each time I tried to get some information from him, I wanted to speak to him, right? And then I just realized that's just our natural way of communication. Whenever we want to talk to somebody or converse with somebody, we start speaking, right? Communicate with someone, we start speaking. And that guy, because he was deaf, we just couldn't understand each other. He might have been able to lip read, but I didn't know sign language, or I wouldn't have been able to understand him. So there was this barrier in communication, which is normal when that kind of situation arises where someone is deaf, they might be able to lip read, but I don't know sign language, and we just weren't able to communicate to each other. So take that to our worship teams, for example. If you are playing in a worship team and you are not able to hear intervals or chord qualities or chord progressions, or maybe you don't have a proper understanding and the skill to really hear those kind of things, in a way, some way, shape or form, you've also got a hearing disability, and that will affect the way in which you can communicate with your fellow band members, and it will affect the way that you learn songs. It will affect the way that you communicate on your instrument because you lack that very important ability to hear. So my whole aim with this video is to kind of give you a couple of pointers around why this is important, and to point you in a direction where you can go to start developing your ears. Now, I understand that miracles can happen, and it's been known that people that were deaf, that have been prayed for, they can get their hearing back, and that is amazing. But short of a miracle, if your hearing is gone, it's gone. Now, thankfully, when it comes to us playing guitar, we don't need a miracle to get our aural skills to a certain level where we can hear things. We can actually develop that through a specific practice method. We can just really learn how to actually develop those aural skills. And that is what I'd like to give you today. And at the end of the day, once you learn how to hear melodies, intervals, chord qualities, chord progressions, or even different types of tone on a guitar, depending on what pickup was used or whatever the case would be, elevating your hearing skills will have a drastically positive impact on your worship guitar skills. So with that, let's jump right in and check out why this is important. All right, so when I studied music, one of my lecturers said, it's not how fast you can play, but how fast you can listen. And sadly, when it comes to guitar players, so many times they focus so much on that guy can shred or he can play really fast, but they don't place the same emphasis on being able to hear really well. And that is why that ability to hear well is so important, because that's literally the way in which you're going to hear what's going on around you and how you use that to play your guitar and to communicate. So being able to listen well and to be able to recognize things is very important. Now, sadly, guitar players are used to learning shapes, right, on the guitar. So you need one shape, and then all of a sudden you can just move that shape up and down, whether it's for a scale or whether it's for a chord, whatever the case may be. They learn the shape, and then all of a sudden they start just playing the shape all over, but without really developing the ability to listen, right? So that is One of the things that's great about the guitar is we can learn one shape and we can get the same scale all over the guitar by merely moving up and down the guitar neck. But it can become a problem in the sense that we don't develop our ears. So that's what I'd like to give you access to in this video series, right? So if we were to get practical, what is it that you need to be able to recognize by ear, right? Well, first of all, it's going to be intervals. Now, an interval is merely the distance between two notes. You want to be able to tell the difference between a major second and a major third. Those are two very different, distinct tones. You want to be able to hear the intervals in and of themselves. Because intervals is what we use when we create melodies on the guitar, what the singers will sing. All right. And once you know what the melodies are, then it's going to help you with your chord choices that you want to play underneath those melodies, right? And that takes us to the next type of thing that you need to be able to hear is the difference between a major chord and a minor chord versus a sus2 or a sus4 or a plain power chord or an add 9 chord or whatever the case may be. Different chords have different qualities, right? Very important for you to be able to hear that. So let's just check this out. Here we have a D major chord. Here's a D sus2 chord. Here's a D sus4 chord. Here's a D minor chord. Here's a D minor 7th chord. Here's a D dominant 7th chord. All of those are different qualities of the same tonic there. They were all D chords, but they were different types of D chords. So it's very important for your ear to hear that. And then the third and final thing that's super important is being able to hear progression so that you can tell the difference between, say, a 4-1-5-6 chord progression from a 1-6-4-5 chord progression, just being able to hear that. And incidentally, that's a combination of intervals, so you can hear the distance between two notes. All right, and then you're going to know, okay, great, that's from a G to a C chord because it was an interval of a fourth. And you're also going to be able to tell the quality of that chord. Is that a major chord or a minor chord? And those kind of things will tell you, where you play major chords and minor chords, depending on just being able to hear the difference and also knowing that when you look at a major scale, where are the major chords and where are the minor chords, right? So before we get to some practical examples, I want to share one more thought with you that in music, we literally get two different types of worlds. We get the vertical world and we get the horizontal world. So what do I mean by that? Well, vertical world is when I take intervals and I stack them together to give me a chord. This is a C chord, and as you can see, those are 4 different notes stacked on top of each other to give me a C chord. All happening in a vertical fashion. But I can play those same 3 notes. Now you can see it's horizontal, right? The notes are next to each other, no longer on top of each other. And typically, that's the difference between chords and melodies, all right? Harmony and melody. So very important to understand that being able to hear the differences in your chords and being able to hear the differences between different type of melodies is all going to come down to your ability to recognize intervals. So let's move on to intervals right now. What is an interval? Well, it's simply the distance between two notes. In Western music, there's the smallest distance would typically be a semitone. And then obviously you can go as big as you can on the guitar, but that's an octave. And this is a minor second, which is a semitone. As you can see, the semitone is a very small interval, whereas the octave was a very much of a bigger interval, right? So it's very important for you to be able to tell the difference between different intervals. Now, it's a good idea to start with the major scale, because there I have 7 intervals between the first and second note, which we call a major second, between the first and third note, which is a major third, between the first and fourth note, which is a perfect fourth, and then between the first and fifth note, which is a perfect fifth, the first and sixth note, which is a major sixth, and then a first and a seventh note, it's a major seventh and an octave. 7 different intervals. Very, very important to being able to tell the difference between those. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually show you how you can use knowledge that you already have of taking famous songs that you should know most likely, and I'm going to show you how they relate to these intervals, right? So let's start with our first one, which is a major second. So if you think of Happy Birthday to You. That is a major second. So whenever you hear something, 2 notes, it sounds like Happy Birthday, that'll be a major second. How about the major third? Well, a famous one is Oh When the Saints. So that sound that is a major third. Very different to the major second, right? Let's check out the perfect fourth. There's 2 famous ones, Amazing Grace. That's a perfect fourth. Also, Here Comes the Bride. That is another version of a perfect fourth. Let's check out a perfect fifth. Alright, Star Wars. And incidentally, when I'm playing these perfect intervals, the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth, you can hear they're a lot more stronger, a lot more declarative, so to speak. Or the Star Wars perfect fifth. A lot more stronger interval than, say, a major second. Or the major third. Right, very different sound. What's after the perfect fifth? Well, we get the major sixth. I like the Frank Sinatra My Way. So these 2 notes, that's a major 6. Also, My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. So whenever you hear something that sounds kind of like My Way from Frank Sinatra or My Bonnie, that's a major 6th, right? I also have a major 7th and an octave. So for that one, you can use the same song. So the first and third notes of that melody is a major 7th. Or the first 2 notes is an octave. Alright, so now, if you've been following along, that should simplify being able to recognize these intervals, because you can make a connection between something that you already know. So there we had a major second, Happy Birthday. We had a major third for Oh When the Saints. We had a perfect fourth for Here Comes the Bride. Perfect fifth for Star Wars. We had a 6th for Frank Sinatra, My Way. We had a major seventh and an octave, both from Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Alright, so there you go. Those are the 7 major scale intervals. And hopefully this has shed some light and kind of broken this down to you in more digestible chunks. So it's not just thinking that you have to be born with this natural ability or this perfect pitch to be able to hear intervals. In fact, perfect pitch is something that some people do get born with, but relative pitch is something that anyone can learn through using kind of the methods that I've been showing you in this video. So this is really just a very basic foundation around ear training and being able to hear specific intervals. All right, so hopefully that's been helpful for you. If you'd like to get a PDF cheat sheet that will list out all of these intervals along with a couple of additional melodies, so you have a few more examples at your disposal, just check the link in the description box. You can sign up right there, get the cheat sheet 100% free, and then I'll be able to send it over to you along with some additional information on how to develop your ear specifically as it relates to being a worship guitar player. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, stick around, watch some more videos on the channel, and do us a favor, if you're enjoying the specific way that we break down these concepts for worship guitar players, please pay it forward and share some of these free videos with your guitar playing friends. It'll be great if you can help us get the word out there so we can get these tutorials and the specific information in the hands of as many worship guitar players as possible. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.